Last week at an auction in Kansas, a 1969 tractor sold for $28,000 for a machine that's 60 years old. It didn't even have a proper cab, just an open seat, levers, and an engine. Right next to it at that same auction sat a 3-year-old modern tractor with air conditioning, GPS navigation, climate control, and autopilot, and it cost the same. The people in that room chose the 60-year-old machine, and this wasn't some eccentric collector in a hat buying antiques for a museum. This was a regular farmer from Nebraska who planned to work it next season. That tractor is the John Deere 4020. And today I'll tell you why a 60-year-old machine not only holds its value, but appreciates every year. Why farmers with million-dollar operations keep one in the barn right next to their latest equipment and have no intention of selling. How it got a transmission that in 1963 completely flipped the script on what a tractor was supposed to be. And most importantly, whether it makes sense to buy one now and whether it might turn out to be a better investment over the next 10 years than stocks or a bank account. Don't go anywhere, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes, and let's get into it. Let's start with what came before the 4020, because without that context, it's impossible to understand why it became such a phenomenon. In the 1950s, John Deere was on the edge of disaster. The company at that time was building tractors on 2-cylinder engines. These machines were nicknamed Poppin' Johnny because the engine made a distinctive sound like someone clapping their hands. Farmers loved them for their simplicity and reliability. 2-cylinder engines were easy to fix. Any mechanic could handle them without a problem. But by the mid-50s, International Harvester, Deere's main competitor, had already moved to multi-cylinder engines. More powerful, more fuel-efficient, more modern. And the technology gap was becoming increasingly obvious. John Deere's leadership understood either they made a dramatic leap forward or the company would slowly die. So in 1953, they launched a secret project. So secret that even the company's own dealers didn't know about it. A team of engineers worked for 7 years on an entirely new tractor lineup. A new factory was being built in parallel. New engines, new transmissions, new hydraulic systems were being developed. This was a total top-to-bottom reinvention of the company. And on August 30th, 1960, something happened that agricultural America would remember as the event of the century. John Deere rented the Cotton Bowl, one of the largest stadiums in Dallas, and invited 6,000 dealers from across the country. When they gathered in the stands, machines covered with tarps stood on the field. Then the covers dropped and the dealers saw completely new tractors, the 3010 and 4010. Multi-cylinder, powerful, modern. One eyewitness later wrote that what happened in that room was something incredible. People were shouting, giving standing ovations, some were in tears. It was the agricultural equivalent of a Hollywood premiere. John Deere called it all the new generation of power. The 2-cylinder era was over forever, but the 4010 wasn't perfect. It had weak rear axles, problems with the PTO shaft, some hydraulic issues. John Deere didn't try to hide the problems or sweep them under the rug. They did what today we'd call smart product management. They took all the farmer complaints, analyzed everything, fixed everything, reinforced the rear axles, added a differential lock, improved the hydraulics, added horsepower. And in 1963, the John Deere 4020 arrived. 4020. Just numbers. But for American farming, that name became what Ford Mustang or Chevrolet Corvette are to car enthusiasts. Now let's dig into what was under the hood of this machine and why it made such an impact. Let's start with the engine. 6-cylinder diesel, 6,630 cubic centimeters of displacement. At the PTO shaft, it delivered 91 horsepower by official measurements, though many farmers in the real world said it actually put out 95 or more. For comparison, previous tractors in this class made 70 to 75 horsepower, and that was considered very respectable. The 4020 was 20 to 25% more powerful than its contemporaries. But power isn't what made it a legend. Hundreds of powerful tractors have come and gone. The 4020 became an icon because of its transmission. Let me explain how you shifted gears on tractors before the 4020. You're out in the field, the load changes, you hit a tough patch, the tractor starts slowing down, you need a lower gear, you come to a complete stop, push the clutch, go to neutral, move the lever to the gear you need, release the clutch, get moving again. This takes several seconds, you lose momentum, you lose your working rhythm. At the end of a long day in the field, you do this hundreds of times. Your hands get tired, your nerves are shot, productivity drops. The 4020 had the synchro range, a synchronized transmission, 8 forward speeds, 2 reverse divided into 4 ranges of 2 each. Here's how it worked. You select a range, full stop, and clutch. But within each range, you shift gears on the move just by pressing the clutch without stopping. Without a full stop. This was a revolution in tractor ergonomics. A farmer could feel the load, react quickly to changes in soil or terrain, shifting with almost no loss of momentum. Even more optional was the full power shift, a hydraulically operated transmission that shifted under load without using the clutch at all. 8 gears. Shift while moving under full load just with a lever. This is what every modern tractor has today. But back in 1963, it was something out of science fiction. Farmers who tried the 4020 at demonstrations couldn't believe their hands. How is it possible to shift gears while the tractor is pulling a heavy plow through hard clay? The hydraulic system was also revolutionary for its time. Independent 3-point hitch with automatic depth control. This means you set your plowing depth once and the tractor maintains it on uneven terrain automatically, raising and lowering the hitch by itself. Before this, a farmer was constantly watching depth and adjusting manually. Now he could look forward and just drive. This cut fatigue dramatically. PTO speed, 1000 RPM, which became the new standard for connecting implement equipment. Dual rear wheels as an option. An enclosed cab with heating and air conditioning as an option. For the mid-60s, that was something extraordinary, as farmers usually sat in the open air, under sun or rain. 3 engine options to choose from: diesel, gasoline, and LPG gas. Diesel was the most popular, chosen by 168,311 owners out of 184,879 total units produced. That's 91% of all sales. Gasoline versions were just over 8,000, LPG around 8,500. And one more detail that doesn't get talked about much. In 1969, John Deere made an important improvement. They moved the hydraulic control levers from the left side of the instrument panel to a side console to the right of the operator. Sounds like a small thing, but it completely transformed the ergonomics. All the controls ended up under the right hand, at a comfortable distance, easily accessible. This is exactly why tractors from 1969 to 1972, the so-called side console models, are now the most expensive and sought after in the collector world. The market responded clearly. Over 9 years of production, from 1963 to 1972, 184,879 John Deere 4020 tractors were built. It was the best-selling tractor in its horsepower class of the era. The 4020 outpaced all competitors by a wide margin and became synonymous with the word tractor for an entire generation of American farmers. Competitors: International Harvester, Alice Chalmers, Case, Massey Ferguson, scrambled desperately to catch up, but none of them could replicate that success. John Deere tried in 1969 to release a cheaper version called the John Deere 4000. Same engine as the 4020, but stripped down by nearly 450 kilograms, with smaller rear axles, without some options. Cheaper. The idea was to target those who needed power, but didn't want to pay for the extras. Logical, right? You'd think so. But farmers weren't buying it. Throughout its entire production run, only 7,987 units sold. Less than 5% of the 4020's sales volume. People wanted the 4020 specifically, with all its features, with its character, with its reputation. In 1972, John Deere released Generation 2, a new second generation of tractors. The 4020 was replaced by the 4230 with 100 horsepower. A production of the 4020 stopped. It seemed like the end of the story, a new chapter beginning. But then something unexpected happened. The 4020 didn't fade into the past as obsolete technology. It stayed on farms, 1 year, 2, 5. The tractors kept working. 10 years, 20, still working. 30, 40, still going. Now in 2026, 60-year-old John Deere 4020s are actively being used on real working farms all across America. Not in museums, not in parades, in fields, in barns, on pastures. Why? There are several reasons, and each one matters. First and most important, the 4020 was built before the era of planned obsolescence. This is the concept where manufacturers deliberately build things to fail after a certain amount of time, so you'll buy the new model, the smartphone that starts lagging after 2 years, the car where parts start falling apart after 5. Today's tractors, with their thousands of sensors, electronic control units, and proprietary software, are machines that after 10 to 15 years become scrap metal because the manufacturer stops supporting the software. The 4020, no computers, no software, no sensors that break and cost $2,000 a piece, just metal, gears, springs, and mechanics that any rural mechanic with a set of wrenches can understand. Second reason, parts. Over 60 years, an entire industry of parts and rebuild components for the 4020 has emerged. This is a massive market. There are companies manufacturing parts specifically for the 4020 right now in 2026. Engine gasket, here you go. Piston assembly, in stock. Transmission gears, available. For a modern tractor 15 years after it's been discontinued, many parts simply don't exist and you're forced to buy a new machine. For the 4020, parts availability is simply not a problem. Third reason, repairability. No dealer required, no special scanner costing $3,000, no mandatory visit to an authorized service center under software licensing. You grab the manual, grab a set of wrenches, order parts from an online store for reasonable money, and fix it yourself. Any farmer with basic mechanical skills can rebuild the 4020's engine in their own barn over a weekend. That's simply impossible with modern John Deere tractors, which use a proprietary, closed protocol that denies access to diagnostic data without an official dealer. Fourth reason, power-to-weight ratio. The 4020 weighs around 7,700 to 8,800 pounds, depending on configuration. Yet over 90 horsepower at the PTO. That's an excellent ratio. For most jobs on a medium-sized farm, haying, bale handling, loader work, light and medium tillage, that power is plenty, and the weight isn't so great that it compacts the soil. Modern 140 horsepower tractors weigh 13 to 15,000 pounds and can turn a field into pavement over the course of a season. Fifth reason, and this is the most surprising one, total cost of ownership. Let's do the honest math. You buy a 4020 in good working condition for $10,000 to $15,000. Fully restored, $15,000 to $20,000. The rarest variants, high crop, special series, up to $40,000 and above. No $200,000 loan. No monthly payments. No bank interest. You pay once, and that's it. Maintenance, oil, filters, grease is pennies compared to modern machines. Repairs when something breaks. Far cheaper because you do it yourself or take it to an independent mechanic, not a monopoly dealership. Insurance on a $10,000 machine is $500 to $800 a year, not $2,000 to $3,000 on a brand new $90,000 tractor. Now the most interesting part, prices. The original price of the 4020 in 1972, its final year of production, was $10,345. That was serious money for the early 70s. One well-known forum source estimated that with the four-wheel drive option, prices reached $11,000 to $12,000. Adjusted for inflation to today's dollars, that comes out to roughly $80,000 to $100,000. meaning a new 4020 today would cost as much as a decent modern tractor. But here's the surprise. On the secondary market in 2025 and 2026, a regular working 4020 sells for $8,000 to $15,000. Fully restored, $15,000 to $20,000. Especially rare or perfectly rebuilt examples, up to $29,000 to $30,000 at auction. According to auction sales data through Purple Wave, most deals close in the $8,000 to $15,000 range depending on condition and configuration. Now compare that to a modern tractor of equivalent horsepower. A new tractor at 90 to 100 horsepower is a minimum of $70,000 to $90,000. After 5 years, it's worth $45,000 to $50,000. After 10 years, $25,000 to $30,000. After 20 years, if it's still alive, $5,000 to $10,000. That's the normal depreciation curve. Everything goes down. The 4020 goes up, or at minimum holds steady. 10 years ago, a good 4020 was worth $7,000 to $8,000. Now, $12,000 to $15,000. A restored one in 2015 was worth $10,000. The same one today, $20,000 to $25,000. That's 50 to 100% appreciation over 10 years. Why is the price rising? Several factors. First, there are fewer of them. 184,000 units produced sounds like a lot, but over 60 years, some have been written off, scrapped for metal, parted out, rotted in abandoned farmyards. Good, well-maintained examples are fewer every year while the number of buyers keeps growing. Second, a generation of farmers is coming of age who grew up on stories about the 4020, whose grandfathers and fathers worked on these machines. For them, this isn't just a tractor, it's an emotional connection to childhood, to family, to tradition. They're willing to pay for that feeling. Third, and this is very important, dissatisfaction with modern equipment is growing. The right to repair movement is gaining strength all across America precisely because of the locked-down systems of modern tractors. Farmers are furious that they can't fix their own equipment without the manufacturer's permission. Against that backdrop, the good old 4020, which you can take apart and fix with a wrench, looks like a breath of fresh air. Fourth, collector interest. Yeah, the world of vintage tractors is enormous. Shows, antique plowing competitions, clubs of vintage iron enthusiasts, all of this creates steady demand for good 4020 examples. Let's talk practicalities. If you're thinking about buying a 4020 today, what do you need to know? There are 3 types you'll encounter on the market. First, the workhorse. A machine that's been actively used in recent years, high hours, minor repair history, no pretenses to beauty, but ready to keep working. Price $8,000 to $12,000. This is the most practical option for those who want to actually use the tractor for real work. You buy it, have a mechanic check it out, and put it to work. Second option, a well-preserved or partially restored example. A clean machine with reasonable hours, no serious issues, decent appearance, $12,000 to $18,000. The sweet spot, you can work it and it looks respectable. Third option, full restoration, show quality. A machine that was disassembled to the last bolt, everything restored, repainted, all worn parts replaced, looks like new from the factory, $20,000 to $28,000 and up. This is already more of a collector's piece, though you can still work it. What to check when buying? Engine. Starts easily cold, no blue-white smoke under load, no milky oil. Transmission. No strange noises when shifting, clean oil with no metal shavings. Hydraulics. The 3-point hitch lifts without hesitation. Speed is normal. Rear axles, no leaks, no play. Engine block, no cracks, no signs of overheating. Frame, no cracks from impact or overloading, and always look at modifications. Many 402s have been customized over 60 years to fit a specific farmer's needs. Someone put in non-standard parts, someone reworked the hydraulics, someone swapped in a non-stock transmission. This isn't necessarily bad, but you need to understand exactly what you're buying. A special note, 1969 to 1972 side console models. These are the best and most desirable examples. Ergonomically, they're already close to modern tractors, and for reliability, they beat many of them. If you find a good late model 4020 in great condition at a fair price, that's a lucky find. Now let's talk honestly about limitations, because the 4020 is not a perfect tractor, and you need to understand what it's suited for and what it's not. 90 horsepower is enough for most jobs on a medium-sized farm, up to 300 to 400 acres, depending on crops. If you need serious tillage on heavy soils, running an 8-row planter, or deep subsoiling on large acreage, the power won't be there. For those tasks, you need something more serious. There's no comfort in the modern sense. Vibrations, noise, jolting on rough fields. The cab, if there is one, is basic. No automatic climate control, no GPS screens, no heated steering wheel. For a short job, that's no problem. For 12 hours a day in the field, that's a test of endurance. Fuel consumption is higher than modern machines. Diesel engines from the 60s don't have high-pressure turbocharging regeneration systems or any of the things that make modern engines fuel efficient. Under heavy loads, the 4020 will burn diesel noticeably faster than a modern equivalent at the same horsepower. And last, if you're running a large operation with GPS management, automated variable rate fertilizer application, precision agriculture, the 4020 simply doesn't support any of that. And this is a machine from a different era, and integrating it into the digital ecosystem of a modern farm is impossible. But for a small to medium farm that needs a workhorse with low ownership cost, the ability to self-repair, and zero risk of losing the machine to a software failure, the 4020 is as relevant today as it was 50 years ago. And as an investment, look at the numbers. If you bought a good 2010 years ago for $8,000, it's now worth $12,000 to $15,000. That's 50 to 80% appreciation over 10 years, or 5 to 8% annually. That beats a bank account. It's comparable to moderately growing stocks. But the tractor also worked the whole time, generating income. Of course, it's not Bitcoin with 1,000% gain, but it's a reliable, predictable appreciation of a real, tangible asset that simultaneously functions as a working tool. There are very few assets like that in the world. There's one more interesting angle. The John Deere 4020 became a symbol of what used to be called American farm culture, an era when a farmer was independent, fixed his own equipment, made his own decisions, and didn't depend on corporate service or software updates. Buying a 4020 today, you're in some sense buying a piece of that independence, and many farmers are willing to pay for it. There's a reason you can find hundreds of stories online about people with multi-million-dollar farm operations, whole fleets of the latest tractors and combines, who keep an old green 4020 in the back of a barn and would never sell it for anything, because it was grandpa's tractor, because that's where they learned to farm, because it just starts and goes without asking questions or requiring access codes. And there's your answer to the question in the title. Why does a tractor from the 1960s cost as much as a new one? Because it was built so right that time proved powerless against it, because it became part of the culture of an entire generation of farmers. Because in a world of disposable things and locked software systems, it represents something you can fix, something that doesn't become morally obsolete, something that works simply because it was built well. And as long as there are farms that need a working, reliable, repairable machine, the John Deere 4020 will be worth good money, maybe great money. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stories like this about the equipment that made and continues to make American farming what it is. See you next time.